Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday, or whatever day of the week it is when you're listening to this. Today's story comes from the book called Assholes, and it's called The Varied Abusers of Oofty Goofty. When you hear the name Oofty Goofty, it's a safe assumption that the person who holds it has had a fairly unusual life. You rarely, for instance, hear the phrase, "I'd like to meet our top performer Oofty Goofty at an induction session at work," unless you happen to be some sort of fucking clown. Oofty didn't always go by this name, however. He was born as Leonard Borchardt in Germany on the 26th of April, 1862, before moving to San Francisco as an adult. Desperate for work and having fled the army, he hit upon some luck when he found a street circus in need of a new act. Well, I say luck. A few moments later, the circus owner took me to his room, where he took some stray human hairs from an old mattress, and after having made me strip, he stuck it all over me with some kind of glue which he said he had discovered. For a share of the ticket sales, Leonard would be required to be covered in the experimental glue and a shitload of other people's hair, and act like a fucking Neanderthal. Members of the circus would feed him raw meat through the bars, and customers would give him beer, while his job was to run around like a wild man and yell "Oofty Goofty" over and over again through the bars. If that wasn't bad enough, before Leonard had even finished his probation, his manager told him he'd already drunk his share of the payment, so Leonard wouldn't be getting any actual money. The gig did not last long. According to a report in the San Francisco Chronicle, police had to intervene when Oofty became sick, unable to breathe through his hairy tar coat. He was taken to hospital, where doctors spent days trying to peel it off without his flesh being torn away, before eventually leaving him on the roof for several more days in the blazing hot sun in an attempt to get the tar-like substance to melt off Oofty's skin. Although he had only been the sideshow act at the circus for a week, the name Oofty Goofty stuck, like some ass hair glued to a deserter's face. This is like being named after the most humiliating moment of your life. Imagine getting married and the priest asks, "Do you, once shat herself in the office after contracting salmonella, take this man, was wanking in the shower when his nan walked in, to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Life was about to get worse for Mr. Goofty, however, as he now had about the same amount of job as he did dignity. For a time he was employed as a mascot for a baseball team, but after they kept losing, he was fired, and they abandoned him in the middle of nowhere to walk home from 100 miles away. Then, in a desperate attempt to win a bet that he couldn't mail himself to Sacramento, he mailed himself to Sacramento, in a package that the mail workers placed upside down, cutting off a lot of his air holes. After getting violently rejected from job after job and taking several beatings from various potential employers, back then apparently they would tell you it was close but you didn't make the cut by merely hurling you out of the establishment onto the rocks below, rather than today's more hurtful ghosting. He hit upon an idea. He would allow people to beat him for money. This is where a whole new stream of assholes come into the story. You would like to think that if someone saw a man down on his luck and offering people a range of prices to beat the shit out of him, they might at the very least walk on by without stopping to chin him. Not the case in San Francisco, where Oofty could make a living letting people twat him with a small cane for 10 cents, or pay $2 to swing at him with a fucking baseball bat. For a time, Oofty managed to make a comfortable living out of this, and was saving up money to go back home to Germany, a country whose inhabitants wouldn't pay to smack him around, when he was sued for libel. He had claimed with no apparent good reason other than he too was a bit of an asshole, that a man by the name of C. Linear had paid him to burn down a house, and had to start all over again. He then decided to start performing stunts for paying crowds, such as trying to push a wheelbarrow over extraordinary distances, but found gangs of youth would fight him for his wheelbarrow. He finally stopped pushing the wheelbarrow when somebody pushed him into the river, really letting him know how the wheelbarrow must have felt. Oofty never managed to return to Germany, and spent his later years telling people his story and betting them $50 that he wouldn't cry if they hit him with a drill. But when your life has been that awful because of the surrounding assholes, it's not so impressive that you no longer have the capacity to feel feelings. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press the wee bell notification. And a huge big thank you to all my subscribers, patrons and members. See you next week. Bye bye.